Mr. Madhav Prasad Acharya, Chairman of KATHMANDU School of Law, Mr. Yubarna, Executive Director of KATHMANDU School of Law, professors, dear students, very good afternoon to every one of you. It's my honor to be invited to attend this first KATHMANDU Dialogue and get this special opportunity to speak here. On behalf of the Chinese Embassy in Nepal, I extend my warm congratulations on the opening of this dialogue and wish this dialogue a great success. KATHMANDU School of Law engaged itself in promoting China-Nepal cooperation and exchanges, as well as the mutual understanding and the cooperation between China and the South Asian countries. It focuses on major development issues and sets up international dialogue platform, for which I believe deserving appreciation and strong support. What impresses me most is that the school strives to push young students into communication and discussions on the major issues of the current development, help them better understand our era, and stimulate their enthusiasm and responsibility for common prosperity. Nowadays, the world is full of challenges and faced with unprecedented great changes and profound readjustment. People of all countries expect development. Global growth requires new drivers. Development needs to be more inclusive and balanced, and the gap between the rich and the poor needs to be narrowed. 1 century ago, it is impossible for one to imagine that production factors could flow so freely throughout the globe as today. However, with the development of science and technology and improvement of productivity, economic globalization is driving forward in an irresistible manner. The infrastructure is extensively connected, global trade keeps growing, global governance mechanism is increasingly improved, and exchanges among people become unrepresented, profound. The realization and the development of economic globalization is not only necessary, but also possible as well. In 2013, President Xi Jinping of China proposed the Belt and Road Initiative, which is an important international cooperation initiative and an action as well, which strives for common prosperity and development, and building for a community with a shared future for mankind. This year marks the 5th anniversary of the BRI. Over the past 5 years, it has received extensive support from around the world and produced the concrete fruits, early harvests. The reason behind this is that the BRI is based on globalization and promoting globalization and conforms to the trend of global development. The developing countries participating in the BRI expect to get rid of the underdevelopment trap. So far, nearly 90 countries and international organizations have signed BRI cooperation agreement with China. The BRI has become the largest platform for international cooperation and the most welcomed public good in the world. The BRI follows the principle of equality and mutual benefits. Countries cooperate at equal footing and pursue common development through consultation and collaboration. All parties are equal participants, equal contributors, and equal beneficiaries. The BRI is open, inclusive, and totally transparent. It is not only an inclusive, it is not an exclusive club. We hope that all BRI projects are of high standard and high quality. We lay great emphasis on green development, environmental protection, and debt sustainability. We are aware of the importance of heeding the realities of different host countries and accommodating their actual need. The BRI actively forges great synergy with development strategies among countries and enable complementarity of strengths, unlocks more potential and broader space for cooperation. The BRI is based on rules and has always been conducted within the confines of international rules and law. We are expecting the negotiation of agreements on trade and investment, finance and taxation, FPR transport, environmental protection, and other matters, and provide institutional safeguard for the BRI cooperation. The contribution from the legal community has great significance for BRI cooperation. The participating countries shall pay attention to the subject activities of policies, rules, standards, improve the legal safeguard, create a law-based business environment, and deepen legal exchanges and international cooperation. China and Nepal are friendly neighbors linked by mountains and rivers. For a long time, the two countries respect each other and treat each other equally. Political mutual trust and the friendship between peoples of the two countries is the most precious part in China-Nepal relations. Recent years has seen rapid development of bilateral relations, with cooperation between us expanding extensively. China and Nepal signed an MOU on the BRI in 2017, which opens broader space for the development of bilateral relations. In June this year, Right Honorable Mr. K.P. Sharma Oli, Prime Minister of Nepal, made a successful visit to China. The leaders of the two countries reached extensive consensus on consolidating China-Nepal relations and advancing pragmatic cooperation, and decided to enhance connectivity, encompassing such vital components as ports, roads, railways, aviation, and communications, within the overarching framework of Trans-Himalaya multi-dimensional connectivity network. The Chinese engineers devote themselves to the construction of major projects in Nepal, leaving their families far behind. According to the statistics of Nepal, in terms of FDI in Nepal, China has marked the #1 for 3 consecutive years. In the first half of this year, the number of Chinese tourists visiting Nepal reached 70,000. Air routes between China and Nepal have been opened with 90 flights each week now. About more than 6,000 Nepalese students are now studying in China. The BRI has opened a broader space for cooperation between us. China will continue to support Nepal in economic and social development within its capacity and assist Nepal to realize the goal of prosperous Nepal as independent. China also enjoys extensive cooperation with other South Asian countries. China-Pakistan Economic Corridor as a leading major project of BRI, maintains fastest progress. This is the cooperation for the benefits of all the Pakistani people. China and Bangladesh focus on advancing the cooperation of infrastructure, trade and investment, and the development aid. The construction of major projects between China and Bangladesh is undergoing smoothly. The Chinese side has provided necessary financing support in this regard. The leaders of China and India have met for 3 times since this year, which highlights the great importance attached by the leaders of the 2 countries to the China-Indian relations. Both as Asian civilizations, China and India are important neighboring countries to each other and major developing countries with more than 1 billion people. The development of the 2 countries is not only the prosperity and the progress for the 1/3 of the world population, but also the great progress that has never been seen in the history of human civilization. The 2 countries share far more common interests than differences. More than 30 dialogue mechanisms has been established between China and India. The value of bilateral trade reached $84.4 billion last year. More than 800 Chinese enterprises investing in India, creating over 100,000 jobs. More than 20,000 Indian students are studying in China. China and the countries in South Asia are important partners for cooperation. China wants to live in harmony with all countries in the region and supports their development. China is the biggest neighbor of South Asia, and India is the largest country in South Asia. China is ready to deepen mutual trust with all South Asian countries and work together with India and make greater contribution to the development of the region, so that the people living on both sides of the Himalaya will enjoy peace, stability, and prosperity. Today, young students from China, Nepal, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, and other countries gather in Kathmandu. The young students are here to discuss the cooperation between China and the South Asian countries and the development of China-Nepal relations. This is the responsibility of the young generation. Young students are not only the future and the hope of their respective countries, but also the hope of world development and cooperation. I wish all young students learn from each other, have a better communication, and contribute their wisdom and strengths to the common development of China and the South Asian countries. Thank you very much.